WBUR podcast, Boston.
This is Up Next. I'm Tiziana Deering. 3D printing. The industry is growing in Massachusetts. More revenue, more investment, more hiring. And that's a relief for an industry that often didn't live up to expectations over the last 2 decades. 20 years ago, the prediction was that we'd all have 3D printers in our kitchens by now. Scott Kirsner, columnist with our editorial partner MassLive, has been following the industry and is here to tell us what's changing. Hey, Scott.
Good morning.
So 3D printers, they use materials like a resin powder. They spit out whole objects like parts of a drone or a sock for a prosthetic leg. It's almost hard for anybody to imagine now how impossible that sounded at the time, that something that was a printer might be able to produce a 3D object.
Right. And the idea is really simple. I mean, if you imagine a printer working on a piece of paper, it's going left and right, it's going up and down the page. Well, what if you add another axis, the z-axis, so it can go up and down in space?
And you're literally creating an item. It is 3D. Why aren't we now, 20 years after the initial phase of 3D printing, why aren't we printing Legos in our garages?
Some of it is because of the precision that wasn't there. Legos are actually a really precisely injection molded device. They all have to fit together, and a kid needs to be able to put them together. So there also is just a huge infrastructure to make things the old-fashioned way with injection molding and metal casting, and those factories exist around the world. So 3D printing is taking a little while to find the places where this additive manufacturing, they call it, kind of building things up layer by layer, and potentially in very small numbers, like a unit of 1 or a run of 10 things that you might want. But it is finding its place in the market now.
So what is looking good or strong or healthy about 3D printing in Massachusetts right now?
There's lots of companies that are raising money, that are hiring, and that are building new facilities around the Boston area. One example would be a company called Vulcan Forms that just announced in June that they're going to build a giant factory in Devens that will eventually employ 1,000 people, and they use 3D printing to make really hardcore industrial metal parts mostly. And one of the most interesting examples to me, we've all been reading about drone warfare between Ukraine and Russia. And so one of the uses is to print parts that go onto drones that are actually being used in that conflict. And the CEO of Form Labs, which is a Somerville company, went over to Ukraine last year and saw lots of his printers being used in lots of undisclosed locations. And the example he gave me was they might have a box of munitions that have never been attached to a particular kind of drone. And so you 3D print the attachment, and then suddenly you bolt on that particular explosive to that particular drone and send it out on its mission.
And do we think that military use is a big growth front for 3D printing?
I think at all levels it's going to be used in the military, particularly at this low end of inexpensive drones. But I think you're going to see it all the way up into cruise missiles and aircraft. And it really is creeping into lots of different places because it can make not just prototypes, but finished parts now.
And then there's this competition question. One of the things that struck me in studying for this is that most 3D printers are made in China. We already know that other key industries in Massachusetts, biotech, for example, is facing Chinese competition. Is that a concern in this industry for Massachusetts as well?
It's really a big concern because this is an industry that the United States, not just Massachusetts, but other places have really developed the whole sector of 3D printing. China is now really the leading global supplier, particularly of low-cost 3D printers. If you want a printer for $150, $250, you are probably going to buy it from a Chinese company. So it kind of leaves U.S. companies to find really specific applications or specific kind of industries that they can serve with 3D printing where they're not going to get kneecapped by Chinese companies.
Scott Kirsner, columnist with our editorial partner MassLive. You can read his full piece at masslive.com. Scott, thanks.
Thanks a lot.